Okay. I'm ready, dude. Let's start.
My name Kodak Black. If they see me, I'm white.
What? Okay. Ready?
Yep. Hello, folks. Welcome to another podcast. You're listening in with Cole and Casey, Survival of the Fittest. I think this is our 12th episode, which is great, which means we are well on our way to 13, I guess.
Stardom. Oh.
Can you tell that we're really enjoying this? No. Instead of at the end, I'm going to drill this into your head now, so get used to it. But please like this podcast even before you know what we're going to talk about. Just blindly like it, blindly subscribe.
Cole's appearance today. He got a haircut. He's feeling a little self-conscious. So if you hit the like button, maybe things will work out with his life.
Yeah, maybe I'll finally feel good about myself. Yeah, so like, do alerts, subscribe. Like on a serious note, I was at my in-laws and my father-in-law's like, hey, tell me about the pod. How's it going? I keep forgetting to listen to them because I don't listen it. Like I don't get an alert or something. And I'm like, turn on the alerts, subscribe. Like I'll do it for you right now.
Sickening.
So, I mean, that could have taken us from one more view, really. That probably could have put bread on the table for my family this week. So
instead, you can see how thin he's looking.
Instead, we're just eating deer tongues over here. One deer tongue the whole week. Anywho. So yeah, feel free to do that. Feel free to do that. And check us out on Instagram. That's where we do most of our stuff. You can look at us on all platforms, but like we're shooting out reels and shorts all over the place, and they're really quite entertaining. So yeah, tune in there. It's good stuff.
Yeah, the reels so generally, because it's a two-man operation still, I will put together the episode recording for YouTube and the audio recording for the other platforms. And then Cole will piece together the reels and kind of manage the social media side of it. And he really does a good job picking out kind of some of our funnier moments. And hopefully it represents the tone of the rest of the episodes, right? Like we're having fun. We're laughing about, the topics and making it light. But at the same time, we're talking about serious things. The last one he posted was about a funny little creature that a depressed patient of mine purchased as a pet, and it was like life-changing for them, an axolotl. Do I still have that right? An axolotl. So he put that out, and the graphics with it are great. And but it did represent an idea, a solution for somebody who's in a depressed state. They can seek out something that gives them responsibility and meaning, something that requires them to get out of bed in the morning for the other thing, survival. And I'm not saying you should go and have a child to get you out of your depression, but I mean, it probably would work. Maybe, I don't know. That's a lot of meaning.
That's what I did for my mom.
Recommending it. Really?
No.
They did the opposite?
My mom said that she was afraid to have me. Well, because she was afraid to have me because when she found out I was a boy and the two older siblings are girls, just because like some men are just messed up in this world. So honestly, she was a little fearful. And I've totally lived up to that, mother. No, she said this podcast has made her pretty proud. So I finally won her over, I guess. So thanks, Casey.
About time. She proud of me or you?
You, but just proud that I know you, I guess. No, in all seriousness, it's good stuff. For real. Cool. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into the chop suey, We don't really have an agenda tonight. We want to keep it nice and brief, lighthearted, but have some gripping content for you folks. One thing that's been on my mind that I'm trying to like figure out is what does success mean? And raising kids in this world, do you teach them to just be an absolute winner, like Kobe Bryant, Jordan mindset, like go out there and win? Or is that problematic? Or is it good to win? Is it good to lose? I don't know, man. I'm kind of confused about it.
And can you even teach those things to your child? Is it something you can actually influence, or is this simply how they are born? Yeah,
just take them out to the driveway and play horse and just beat it into them when they're
scream in their face every time they miss.
5 years old, and you just dunk it on them. Yeah. No, but in all actuality, I'm really like, I've been thinking about it, and like participation trophies, I think that gets the light of like not a good thing. Like you shouldn't give out participation trophies. You're just giving up, you're not even putting forth an effort. I think there's arguments on both sides, to be honest. And I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I was listening to something. Cole asked if this is something we should talk about because it had come to his mind, or he had encountered information on the subject. The same time that I listened to an interview that Jordan Peterson did with somebody, and ultimately the message they seemed to be conveying was that competition is necessary mostly so that you can learn how to fail gracefully and how to survive failure and how to get up and keep going and try again, and to what's the word, compersion, I think, have compersion meaning positive feelings about people who do have success, happiness toward them. So you can have compersion toward the winners and say, man, like, what did they do? How can I mimic their behavior so that I can have that feeling of success? And in a world of participation trophies where we don't ever let anybody feel like they've lost, we're creating a massive cluster of individuals who, since they literally have never lost, are going to be mature physically, literally, maybe not emotionally, but mature physically, 16, 20, 25 years old, when they get their first defeat. And it might absolutely destroy them. And so, yeah, I think competition, I think this is a huge subject, and I think it's very much kid dependent, but in general, yeah, we should probably be teaching our kids that life is kind of a game and a competition, and you win when you and people around you are successful and safe and happy and thriving. That is the metric of success, not just when you can elevate yourself over others, but maybe the goal is that you can be happy, but not at the expense of those around you, because that's a more sustainable way of living and winning than by stepping on those around you. I mean, I'm just trying to give the final answer for this podcast in the first 4 seconds, but yeah, I just didn't know what else to say.
So we can just goof off the rest of the time. Yeah, no, like I don't think I have an answer. I've been thinking of a lot of things and just trying to balance it out. And I guess I will put forth a lot of things to kind of be a question to the listener to think about, what they think is right or wrong. And I don't necessarily think you have to look at this through the scope of a parent, but maybe you can look through your own scope. What does like participation trophies or success look like in an adult life, like in a corporate world or whatever? Like your neighbor, your friend, maybe you find out how much they make and it's more than you or less than you. And like, should that do anything to you? I don't know. Should it motivate you? Should it boast you? I don't know. And also, I think like competition being healthy, like you mentioned, not to be under the assumption that all kids should be or people should be involved in sports. Because I think it kind of comes off that way, maybe just to me, because I grew up doing sports. But I've kind of told myself, like, I think sports are really good. My wife and I, like, we both met while playing sports on a college level. So I think it's good. Like, it got me places. I wouldn't have met you if it weren't for sports. I think I maybe not have like a healthier lifestyle like I do or values for it if it weren't for sports. So I think there's a lot of good there, but I've kind of tried to open my mind to like, hey, dude, what if my kids like don't want to play basketball? Or, what if they want to be on the drum line or just physics or engineering or whatever? I've kind of decided for me, like if all my kids want to play basketball and root for my favorite basketball team, that'd be sick. But I've convinced myself like, hey, they do what they want to do and I'm just going to back them 100% and like we've kind of talked about this actually, and not be like their coach. And if they want to do sports, I actually think it's good for me to like foot the bill to like pay for the trainer who's just going to put them through hell and push them in their mental capacity. And then I'm just there like, yeah, keep going. Like, you're doing awesome, bud. We love you no matter what. Let's go get ice cream. You did a great job.
You played amazing. Dad, I didn't go in. Oh, that's still, you were cheering great, buddy.
Contributing to the team. I bet they couldn't have played as good if they didn't practice with a good player like you defending them.
Nice.
I don't know. I feel like just, I don't know. So many thoughts. I think I'm also kind of a victim of like having been taller. Like it was, you're playing basketball, and of course, like I think most kids in America kind of like basketball. Like Kobe. Like when they're shooting trash can, like it's cool. R.I.P. But I think a lot of people think that's cool. So who wouldn't? And then, you grow to be 6'6" and at a younger age. And I feel like a little bit of it was forced on me and the environments around me. And it made me not love it as much, which I do like the game, basketball and stuff. But I don't know, man. It just didn't seem right at the time growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I have, Cole and I have obviously connected over this because of the sports I was good at, I was best at basketball, I believe, and I liked it the most, and I still do. Not like I'm like, oh, I wish I would have been in tennis. No, like basketball is fun. I love it. My dad was a great athlete, and his favorite sport was basketball. I don't think it was his best sport. I think he had other great sports, but he was a great basketball player, and I think he saw me as tall as I was. I'm not as tall as Cole, a couple inches shorter, but still a tall person. And as tall as I was, and I had a proclivity to basketball. And so I was the youngest, and all my older siblings played, and my sisters, who were a few years older, were really quite good. I mean, my older brothers were good too, but it was just like they got more and more invested in basketball. My two sisters, by the time they were in high school, they're traveling all over the country doing AAU ball. And so I came up, the last kid, super tall for my family, and a pretty good ball player, and I loved it. And I think everybody just kind of saw like, oh, this is our chance to have a real ball player. And I did love basketball, but I think part of it is having the psychological profile that I have. It was hard to deal with the pressure that I both put on myself and that I felt, whether or not it was real, felt from the people around me. to meet those expectations. And so that's what you alluded to earlier about having a trainer who's like, hey, you want to be real great? Well, I'll get you with a trainer. And then you go talk to the trainer. You're like, come on, man, get this kid good. Put more pressure on him. And then you see your kid and you're like, buddy, did you have training practice again today? You're like
being nice to you?
Side with binoculars. You're watching with a microphone or walkie-talkie to the trainer. But yeah, I don't know if that would have made a difference to me, and I don't know if I would have been better off or worse off without the added pressure. It might have kind of forged me a little bit. It's my mind has changed a lot. If you would have asked me this 5-10 years ago, 5 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, no, wasn't good for me. I needed a hands-off parent who didn't care. That was my perspective then. But as I've matured, I wonder if I ever would have dared step outside of my comfort zone, if I ever would have dared take the risks I have and dealt with the anxiety of performing in front of stands of people, that kind of stuff. I don't know if I ever would have done that had it not been for the pressure and expectations of people I really looked up to. So it's a really complicated thing, but at the end of the day, I can be like, well, I know my dad and parents and family loved me a ton. And so even if maybe whether or not it was ideal for me to perform as a basketball player, doesn't really matter because they were just trying their very best.
Yeah.
And that works out. It's where you have a parent who you don't feel the love from, or a coach who you don't feel the love from, and you get that pressure from. It's like, maybe you never come around like I have to appreciating the positives that have come from it. But to go back, I'm on the same page as you. If my kids don't want to play sports, because I think we're in this zone of, we actually did succeed quite a bit with athletics. Even if I would have played at the University of Utah, I still wouldn't be in the NBA. I'm not going to be in the NBA. I'm not making a career out of basketball. And all it would have done was make me pay even less attention to my career aspirations while I was in college. And so if I was going to the NBA, that's a different story. But my hands are not big enough to play at that level. And I can't slide laterally fast enough. And with those two things kind of, they kept me out of those upper tiers of basketball. And so my point was that we were good enough to see, even being pretty good, going to play college basketball, it was awesome, but it didn't put me on, it didn't fix all of my problems as an adult. And what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to find meaning? How am I going to help those around me? It didn't really do those things. And if anything, maybe it even was a distractor from what is the purpose of my life? How do I want to spend the next 60 years, 50 years working? I just put all those things kind of on the back burner because I was so obsessed with sports. And
yeah.
So, yeah, lots of thoughts. But at the end of the day,
Tons.
You and I both have kind of been like, well, we've been there, not to the top levels of athleticism, which is a different story. If you're going there, then yeah, send it. Make $20 million a year throwing a ball around. That's a different story.
Generational wealth for sure. It's hard to beat that. And those people are freaks. They're really dedicated to their craft. And maybe they tell you, hey, you don't have to have, it helps to have these different physical characteristics, but it just comes down to dedication to it. So maybe they just are, but I don't know, the Alex Carusos of the world. He's got some hops. I know, but there's still people that pull it off. Or the local kid, Sam Merrill on the Cavs. He gets playing time. And he just shoots that three good. He's not super athletic, but it's cool to watch him. He's from the town I grew up in. But so anyway, I did want to say one thing here. I guess, I didn't play full 4 years with basketball with Casey. I played 1 year. I had a conversation with the coach. The coach was like, and I don't know, I was getting maybe like 10 minutes a game as a freshman. I was pretty proud of it. And I had aspirations to like really contribute to the team, like starter and all that. And I think I had the confidence. And maybe I shouldn't have given up. Maybe I should have just transferred schools or just fought through it. But like the coach is like, hey, you're never going to start here. Like you're just going to come off the bench the full years. That's just where we see you. And I was like, all right, I'm going somewhere else, you know? And it's weird with life, you know, like the different avenues you can take. What I'd say is right now, I feel a lot of peace of where I'm at. Where I've landed at. And I would say that I've come to this, like where I'm at, obviously way later than I had hoped, but I'm really happy where I'm at. Like I have a lot of peace of mind and joy in my life with my family and my friends and relationships. I feel very good about all that. But dude, like I tried out so many different things. Like I went from, you know, basketball and then tried out, you know, football and had some cool opportunities there, and then just like schools and jobs and just hopping all over the place. And then I kind of like
back up a tiny bit. Tell people, had you'd never played football, right? Did you play football like Pee Wee, or you didn't play in high school?
I don't. Oh, dude, you put me on the spot. I don't really like to talk about this publicly because it didn't amount to anything. But long story short, so I played all growing up until high school, and then I just decided to go with basketball. But I mean, here, I'll take a step back. Like,
take your shirt off.
Yeah. No, I used to be, I don't know, maybe I'm 220 now. I used to be like 240, and when I decided to quit basketball, I took up football. And I was like, I'm going to walk on somewhere. There were enough examples out there, like on YouTube and stories and people that would do this. And I was like, I can do it. Because I played basketball pretty physically.
If you would have seen like Cole at 240, you'd be like, yeah, he could do it.
Yeah, and I could jump like pretty well. Like I was a decent athlete, not the quickest, but anyway. So I went with a trainer that had never played football in high school. And then he went to the U. Shout out John Madsen. I trained with him, and then he got drafted to the Raiders and played for the Raiders for a little bit when they were in Oakland. So I trained with him. I got up to like 260, just like, dude, I was a freaking beefcake. And I actually walked on at the U for football. Like I got a spot, and then it was freaking stressful. I'll just put it that way. Like I was working a job. My wife was working 3 jobs. This may come off as an excuse, but it was pretty stressful, and like trying to get a spot on the team. Cause I was like, if I don't get a spot, if I don't get like school paid for, then like, what kind of dude am I making my wife work all this just so I can live out this dream? And so I was like, yeah, I always had that pressure, but then, like at 260, I'd never run a 40 before. So 40-yard dash is like a metric that they use in football that's very, very key to like faster positions. So I was a tight end with a tight end at the time. And
still got a
glory days. The glory days. But I ran it too slow. And I think that if I would have had more coaching and strategy, I would have run it faster, like the mechanics of it. So I'd never done it before. So they moved me to left tackle on the line because I'm tall and you know, but those big boys are like, you know, pushing 300 at 6'6". So like you got to go from 260 to 290. And I'm like, damn, I got to put on 30 more pounds. Like I just came from 230 to 260. Now I got to go 30 more. Like I was horsing down food like none other. I would eat lunch and then eat like 3 dinner rolls and drink a half a gallon of water right before weigh-ins. And then we'd have practice after. And so like I was freaking stressed, and I got to a point where my stomach, I had the sharpest, most intense pain in my stomach. I lost 30 pounds in a month. Excuse my French. I was just shitting myself, throwing up. Like I look back and I was going to doctors, I was getting like scopes and everything and like trying to figure out if I had like some sort of disease. It all came down to hindsight. I was like, I had some bad anxiety then, like really bad. There was a lot of pressure on me that didn't need to be put on me, that I put on myself. And then I was just like, I got back down to like 230. It's like I got 60 pounds and I've got 60 pounds to make up and learn all the mechanics of a left tackle.
And run faster.
And well, the running was fine for that position, but
yeah.
And so my wife's just going to grind it out for years. Anyway, I bagged it and then just went to other things. But so I guess that leads into another thing. Was I successful? I never played it down a football. I failed, in a lot of people's eyes, but I don't know, maybe it can be seen as success. I did want to point to one thing. So I think there's a beauty to winning and there's a beauty to losing. And I think it's important. Like, I think that as a parent, when I see my kids like not get what they want, sometimes I'm like, okay, good. That's a good thing that you didn't get what you want immediately, or you have to work towards something, or you have to wait for something. I think that's a good thing. Even if, they're like crying and losing it in my head, I'm like, I think this will be good for them. That might sound twisted, but if you're a parent, maybe you'd agree. But there's this one quote. So John Wooden, who, if no one knows who John Wooden is, he was a coach for, I'm just going to fact check this. He was a coach for UCLA, so University of California, LA. And he coached a lot of successful basketball players. Probably the most notable is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who LeBron James just beat his scoring record last year, I think. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar used to be Lou Alcindor was his name. But let's see. So if I'm reading this right, he had 10 championships in the NCAA for UCLA. So this guy, he knew about success. But he has this book that my high school basketball coach gave me. And it kind of shook me a little bit because he says, I'll read this verbatim. It says, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing you did your best to become the best you are capable of becoming. So success is a peace of mind, which in a direct result of self-satisfaction is knowing you did your best to become the best you are capable of becoming. I want to read that twice. That doesn't sound like somebody who's won 10 championships to me. He's basically saying success is you give the most effort towards a goal and you exhaust your capabilities, and that is success. That's always stuck with me. And I'm like, that's coming from somebody who knows about winning and losing, but maybe there's a bigger picture there. So maybe a participation trophy can be given to somebody who does give an all-out effort. That's the counter argument. And I feel like it's sound. But I'm also like, I don't want to give somebody a trophy.
Right. No, but that sounds
just shows up.
That sounds like an effort trophy. Like you get the trophy for winning and then the kid in the league gets the most improved. And not you showed up to the games, right? So I think I think those are different things, and I think that's okay. Yeah, that's good. That's a good quote. So what do you think if there are parents out there, most people who would listen to this with kids are probably not at our exact stage. They're going to have kids that are 6 or 9 or 13. What are some of the questions that are going to be coming to mind that maybe we could shed light on, having been obsessive high school and even college athletes? What's a question you think may want to be answered by them?
One is that, so I hope that Casey and I aren't coming off as ungrateful for the resources and the dedication that our parents put in and that we put in ourselves to get to a certain level. Because I know that there's a lot of people that aren't able-bodied that would wish they could be in a college level. Mm-hmm. So I hope that's not being communicated. We're very thankful for what that provided for us back then and now. And I hope that opportunity can open up for many people because I think it's a good thing. However, there's many, many, many kids, majority of kids who aren't going to play sports. Like there's way more people in the stands than there are in the court. And those people just aren't going to play. So maybe there's a parent out there who's like, okay, you're talking about competition, you're talking about wins and losses. That's easy to differentiate in a metric for points and numbers and wins and losses and statistics. But what if my kid's an auto mechanic or a scientist or an astrophysicist, or like, how can you help them or find success?
I was just going to start throwing out some insane stuff, but the first one that I was going to say is like, I can't even say that one.
Or a beaver trapper, or come on, dude, let's go.
Okay. A fluorescent dye face painter.
A tattoo removal artist.
But with knives and not lasers.
Other known as a butcher, a serial killer. That just got dark.
What if my kid likes to, dissect dead animals on the side of the road? Like, does he need to play rugby? Yes. Yes, he does.
So, yeah, I think there's that question. What does success look for those kids? Because there's a lot of them, a lot more than there are athletes.
Yeah. And so that's the exciting thing, because in an era of opportunity, which we still seem to be in, who knows, next 5-10 years, or they always look scary for everybody. But if things continue to go pretty well for the Western world, which seems impossible, but it always happens. But maybe if people listen to our podcast, it'll work. Joe, log in. Dang it. Oh, so what I was going to say was that in an era of informed parents who realize that there's so many valuable things that people can contribute to the world, whether that's computer science skills, whether that's art, whether that's music, whether that's being a very organized person and being able to run a business or an institution, or, a tutor, a mentor, all these things individuals can be that contribute so greatly to society that aren't being able to jump high and run fast and throw a ball far, right? And I was unique. I was a unique athlete, I think, in that I had a lot of interests and skills off of the court. I remember going to practice at Westminster and games, and I'd be wearing my muck boots, and I would have just gotten off the mountain after hiking around for deer to photographing them. And that was my routine in high school too. I just wandering around in the mountains, and I didn't have anybody in my family that did photography. And I also would do kind of the same thing with art, with pottery. And I was so into that stuff, despite my family and upbringing, right? It was almost in spite of it. Like I didn't get a whole lot of positive reinforcement. I got so much positive reinforcement about so many things, but that was not one of them. The photography, that was cool because my family's into the outdoors, but pottery, nah, that one didn't get boosted much. And just I realized that today, now, me having experienced that and having naturally a really open mind and a curious mind and looking at my kids like, oh, you could do anything, because I went through that. I can't imagine pushing my kid down a path knowing what I know now, knowing that life could have offered so many things to me, and I'm very happy with what I have. I also don't want to sound ungrateful. I have a wonderful profession, an amazing family. Like I get to help people in medicine, but truth be told, I am a creative, and I would have probably been much more fulfilled. He's
damn good too. Really good. Not just saying that. I come from a family of creatives. He's damn good.
Thanks, Cole. But yeah, I would have loved to probably do architecture or design, or, I just like wander around in my backyard, just thinking of landscape design stuff I could do all day. And I'm just so happy just staring at rocks in my backyard. And obviously most people aren't like that. And I say all that to say, if you can be clued in to the fact that your kids may not be wired the same way that you are, and you can have an open enough mind and enough exposure to what life has to offer for people, and then say, okay, my kid is obsessed with dinosaurs and drawing them, and exactly, like maybe he gets to t-ball and he is afraid to swing at it, and you're like, okay, well, we're going to play t-ball so he toughens up a little bit, but he's not going to the major leagues. Those kids that go to the major leagues, their first day, they smack that thing and they run, and they're like, from day one, you can see it. And so, work with what your kids bring to the table. Yeah, challenge them, put them in sports, make them face their fears, all that. But have in mind, this is who they are. This is how I'm going to help them maximize their individual potential, and not necessarily like my kids. I'm probably going to be like, oh, you're going to be an artist, and maybe they will be great basketball players, right? And I'll be like, basketball, it's not that great. You should work on your iPad sketches. Like, I might make that mistake by going the other direction. But as long as we're aware of it, I think that will be helpful to us and our kids with expectations. Because you put them on the right path and say, hey, like, you love music, buddy, here's some instruments, and like, let the reins down and let them run. And maybe that is where you will be happy as a parent, seeing them really thrive. And they will obviously be much happier.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially that last part. Our kids are young. Your kids, my kids are young, but they're old enough that we can see what they're starting to get interested in. And man, that makes you feel so good as a parent when they're doing that and you reinforce them. Like, just tonight, my son was schooling my dad he's like, look, a long neck. And he's like, it's a brachiosaurus. And then he's like, look at this one. It has a head on it or whatever. He's like, that's a pachycephalosaurus, Dad. Or pop. Yeah, not Dad, pop. So yeah, so I think, funny. And I think that comes back to, look, I'm going to say it. Like, I think that John Wooden quote is good. I think it's really good. Like, there's a difference between showing up, like you said, and receiving a trophy, and giving a full effort and giving a trophy. Not saying like you should give your kid a trophy every single time they lose in a basketball game or sit on the bench. Like, maybe they should be pushed, if that's what they want to do, to see how far their talents can take them. But that doesn't mean that there's some sort of metaphorical trophy. And if your kid isn't in sports, like, the support that you give them and the acknowledgement that you give them, that can be that effort trophy, because they might be giving all that they can. So I think that's where I'm lying on it. I think that we should open that up and are open, to people's feedback on, what do you think? What is your experience with your kids? Maybe you have older kids that are in sports. What do you think on this subject? Is it good? Is it detrimental?
That would be nice if people would leave their comments, because we aren't at later stages of life. We don't have kids that are playing sports currently. And we didn't play in the era of social media. It's just like so many things that other people could bring to this conversation. If you drop a comment right now and say, hey, we're on the right track, or no, like, you guys are ungrateful pieces of crap. I'm 5'9" and I would have killed to be able to play basketball, that could be probably somebody's thought process. I did want to state one thing about the essentially rewarding people for effort. I had this experience today. My daughter, she had drawn something in a little sketch pad, right? And it was just squiggly lines, and some areas were shaded darker than others, and I'm like, kind of cool, I like that. It was more intricate than I'm describing, but she's 3, and so it wasn't it wasn't over the top yet. But she showed me, and I was intentionally trying to give her positive reinforcement for her effort and for her focus rather than her talent. I saw something, or I've heard something online multiple times. It's come onto my feed about how 2 different ways to respond to children who excel or succeed academically. One of them being saying, wow, you're so smart, right? You're so smart. You're so talented. What a great student. Versus, look at how hard you've tried, right? Like, yeah. What an amazing effort. And I think, hey, how's it going? I'm just kidding. I know you're doing the camera thing. So I think, and maybe I didn't articulate that well, but the 2 ways you can respond to your kid is, hey,
can I add really some color talented to it?
Yeah, please.
Like 1 or 2 sentences. Because I say good job, buddy, a lot. Good job, buddy. And that's me communicating. You've done a job and you've completed it. Good job. You did it exactly how I wanted to. What is that communicating to my son's brain? Am I excited about and appreciate his efforts toward it? Or am I appreciative of the end result? Which, me as a father, I want to choose to be excited about his efforts, no matter how the result comes out. I don't know if that adds any color to what you're saying.
Yeah. No, it does, because we can't always, like, we obviously cannot control the results of anything, but we can control our effort levels. And so if we continually reinforce our kids, like, hey, like, you worked your tail off for that project or for that competition or preparing for that tennis season or whatever
job,
like that, those levels of dedication that you exhibited, I mean, that's going to set you up for the rest of your life. You know, you tell that to your kid, that's incredible. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't have all the tools to be an amazing basketball player. Ball handling has always been difficult for me because my legs are so long, my torso is so far off the ground, my arms aren't that long, and my hands are small. So the ball has to come way up and then hit a small target. I think that's part of it. And so I've never really had a great handle on the ball compared to the guys I was a guard in college. And so the guys I'm playing against obviously had a great handle, and relatively I didn't. And so because of that, I mean, the end result is I wouldn't be able to execute in the same way that another person would. But the amount of practice that I put into ball handling and the progress that I made over the decades of playing basketball and the end result, like, if you could look at the amount of work that I put in compared to most of the kids I played against in basketball in general, or specifically ball handling, I think I would win in almost all the cases. Like, I practiced so much, right? And but at the end of the day, we played with Gary Payton's nephew, who had super long arms, huge hands, shorter, like 6'1". He's going to be mad that I didn't say 6'2", but there's no way he's 6'2".
Yeah, he could just show up and hoop.
And he just had a great handle, very, very, very great control over the ball. And a lot of it looked like it was how he was built, specifically his hands and his arms, like his uncle, right? And so if you just looked at our end result, you'd be like, yeah, that guy, he's the better ball handler, which was true. But if you could look at the amount of time that I put in to do that, I think I could get some points in heaven with the Lord. Does he care about that?
Comes back to that. Oh yeah, he does.
I asked
the Holy Cross over, dude.
Shoot. Oh,
put up the video of the Holy Crossover and breaking Satan's ankles. Put that up.
All right.
Well, all right. Well, let's close her down. We promised the people it'd be short. Let's do last calls.
Oh,
if you're all right with it.
52 minutes. Shoot.
Yeah, dog. So my last call.
Deepest, darkest secret for the last call.
No. John Wooden, he has a pyramid of success. Check it out. We'll throw it up here on the pod and elsewhere, but I think it's a pretty good summation of success. I think he's very sound advice, and the person who, my coach, I admire my high school coach quite a bit. We didn't win any championships. I think he was a successful coach. I think he stood for a lot of good. So, yeah, that's my last call. The Pyramid of Success by John Wooden. Check that out, print it out, put it on your mirror, whatever. Look at it. I think it'll bring good fruits of the harvest.
The harvest. So, yeah, I think my last call is going to be that, especially if your child is a bit anxious or timid, you gotta push them into something. You gotta stretch their comfort zone. We, in our society, in the modern day, we have started to protect children from what could be traumatizing to them to a severe degree. Like, there's a dog walking down the street that's on a leash, and we'll like take our kid the other way so they don't have to be scared of the dog. And that is it's not going to hurt them, but we know they're afraid of dogs, and so we'll just completely avoid the dog, when in reality the best thing for them is to every day get a little bit closer to that dog, until one day it's like you can say hi to the dog, and the next day you let it, you go up and stand by it and it sniffs you, but you don't touch it. That is the way we deal with the stuff that scares us in life and the stuff that stops us from succeeding and meeting our potential. It's not by running from it, unfortunately, because it's really hard, right, to just confront head on the stuff that's most intimidating to you. But that's kind of what you got to do. Like, I've done it in the backcountry. I've the same kid that was so afraid of the dark, like I've talked about in the last episodes. It was not easy for me to do solos in the backcountry. And so the couple times I've done it, I've put myself in situations where I literally just couldn't get out that night. One of the times I had my dad drop me off for a couple of days in Wyoming somewhere, and just hiked in a few miles and camped. And he was like, he was not even in the same general area. He couldn't have possibly come to get me in a night if I was like wanting to leave. So I just had no choice, and I had to stay overnight. And doing stuff like that, I mean, that one wasn't as bad. I'd done smaller things like that, but that was a demonstration of how I forced myself to have to stick it out, despite it being very uncomfortable for my brain, which is, kind of funny, because I can look at the statistics and know that people are fine when they sleep in a tent at night. but when you're wired the way that I unfortunately have been, unfortunately, right, I think I get more pros than cons with my wiring. But yeah, I think you got to tell your kid, like, look, buddy, your biggest fear is this. Let's go conquer it together. I'm here for you, and this is how we're going to do it. You're going to help me draw up this plan. You're going to get a little closer each day to this big thing. And then at the end of the year, you're going to give a speech to your classmates, and you will have conquered your biggest fear. Everything else it's all, downhill from there.
Yeah, that reminds me of a quote. There's no growth in the comfort zone, and there's no comfort in the growth zone. I like that one. I have no idea who the hell said it, but I like it. All right, bro. Do you have any shameless shout outs? Things you're liking?
Do you? Nothing stands out right this very second. My landscaping service.
Yeah, I'm not going to shout out anything besides, hey, guys, it's getting warm outside. Like, get outside, plant a garden. If you've never done it before, do that and fail at it. It's so easy. Just get some soil at any store. Try with one tomato plant in a pot. Just try it. It's awesome. It's an awesome experience. Do your landscaping, beautify your home, enhance it. Like, get outside, please, more. Get off the computer and the screens. Like, get outside. Take your kids outside. Take their shoes off and their socks off. Let them ground with the earth and the dirt. Like, just get out there and enjoy it because it's good. That's what I would say.
Amen, brother. Thank you.
And leave a comment below on what instrumental you want to hear Casey rap to.
I'm ready.
Freestyle.
I'm ready. I've been practicing in the truck, man. I know my time's going to come.
Thanks for tuning in.
Not the word.
You know
thanks,
the thing. Guys. Do the thing. Support us. We appreciate you. And give us feedback. You guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.